All righty. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome back to Circle Healing Network. And I have a wonderful guest on today, Barbara Becker, who I've actually interfaced with initially as a client of hers. That's how I found Barbara. I was seeking the QHHT, which is Dolores Cannon's method of hypnosis and past life regression, as well as healing. It's a lot of things. You can't put that into one word, but that's how I met Barbara. Barbara is a registered RN, a nurse. That's been her career path for many, many, many years before moving more into alternative medicine. She'll tell her story. She's had a number of awakenings. It's definitely some trial by fire, I could say. I've read Barbara's book. It's called Enclosure. This is my note sticking up, but this is her book. And she gifted it to me after one of my sessions with her. And I've read it. And I really, really love this book, Barbara, as you know. And we'll talk more about my experiences that come from it. But let me just bring Barbara on now, and you share more of yourself. And thanks again for those of you who tune into Circle Healing Network. We appreciate it. And my goal is to bring just bring people, forward who are doing wonderful work. Barbara is an incredible healer, and just I could say so many things. So I'm going to stop there. But Barbara, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on Circle Healing Network.
Well, thank you, Robin. Thank you for inviting me, and it's my honor and pleasure to be here with you and your audience.
Definitely. So why don't you just start off, but we'll just jump back in. As you know, we'll have a conversation like we normally do off air. So, just jump in and tell folks about, your path, what you're doing and how you got here.
Okay, very good. Well, I started out years ago as a critical care registered nurse. And I also worked in the emergency room. I phased out that career after about 23 years and became a legal nurse consultant and worked that arena as an independent for over 21 years. And then one day I had an out-of-body experience, and this was after a near-fatal automobile collision. It was back in 1986. And I started having these experiences where I'd be sitting here talking with somebody and my consciousness was out here looking down and around the room wondering, what is all this? And at first it was kind of scary because I had no control over it and it would just happen automatically. And after about the third time, I decided, you know what, just go with it. And it was a way of also processing the post-trauma response and effect of having a near-fatal event. Mm-hmm. And many times this happens to people. They either have a severe illness or they have an injury or accident that causes a heart chakra opening and an expansion of their awareness, their consciousness, and they start to ponder, what's going on here? Why am I here? Well, that kind of stopped. After about 8 months, it kind of resolved itself. I had out-of-body experiences about 5 times a day. And I continued on with my career and my life with my husband. I traveled all over the world for about 22 years. And after about 10 years, I decided to go to a little play shop called Meet Your Guardian Angel, the Angel Communicator. And of all the people in that room, I was the only one who didn't have an encounter. No message, nothing. And I continued at home doing the meditation practice, and lo and behold, my angel came through. It was after that I went about an hour after that experience. I looked at my chest in the mirror and I saw these first-degree burn marks on my skin in the shape of the sun where my fingers were. and it took me out. I couldn't understand this as a nurse. It didn't hurt, but my skin was bright red. And I ran to the phone. I called the angel communicator and said, what is this? And she said, well, Barb, you were the most skeptical person in the room. And skeptical people need tangible evidence that our guides are here, our angels are here, and that was what you needed. And I said, okay. And she said, by the way, you're a healer, because this can happen when people are channeling energies. The capillaries of the skin dilate in response to the energies coming through. And a person who channels energies, their hand can feel cold one moment, and yet if they touch the client on the shoulder, for instance, the client may feel intense heat. Right. Exact opposite. Anything. And so I began exploring the world of angelic experiences, guides, our communications with nature, extraterrestrial intelligence. I just started opening up, and it was really scary for me because none of this was part of my world. I had to really take apart everything I've learned before and come to a new understanding of what is really going on. And I continued and continued to the point where I became confused, because everybody is talking about the same concept, but they have different viewpoints. And I decided, well, what the heck? Who do I believe? There are many people out there self-experts.
Right. Yeah. And I think that that's one of the things that I do by bringing various people on the show. One of my missions here is that there is a lot coming at people. And as we know, there's a lot of people who are, turning on and their awareness is coming to what really is going on here on the planet. And, in common, it's oftentimes called that people are awakening, whatever. And you come into an arena where it looks like, okay, these are all healers. We're all here. It's all love, peace, and joy. But you're hit with all this stuff and you don't really know how to sort through it. So it's, I like the fact that you're saying that was a part of your experience, because I know the audience can relate to that. So you could go on. I wanted to say that though, because I know that's probably a lot of people thinking, yep, me,
So the one thing I like to put forward here is one thing that we can rely on is when we ask for help, we will receive it. Yep. We may not get it right away, but just wait, it will come. And so I decided I need to find someone to help me understand this. And another angel communicator came into my life, and I went to her. And at that point, she has this ability to see information above a person's head. She just basically reads the text. And so I engaged in a session with her, and I actually met my own guardian angel. And the angel communication to me was, it doesn't matter what anybody else believes. It's what you believe. So you choose what to believe. And that really made it more sense. And she said, the thing to ask for is clarity for yourself, so you understand and you engage in your life. All these experiences, some are tough, some are easy. And all of this is about love, every bit of it. And that's one of the main messages I share with people is everything you're experiencing, every object, every component of this third dimension that we experience as part of Mother Earth, Gaia, it's all holding consciousness. And it all comes from Source, which is love. I've been meditating, and I talk about this in my book, since I was 7 years of age. And I did a meditation where I expanded my consciousness. I didn't even know I was doing this. I was expanding my consciousness to the point where I was looking for, what if you took everything away? everything.
Right.
Nothing existed. Absolutely nothing. No stars, no space, no universe, absolutely nothing. And I said to myself, what if there is no such thing as nothing? Now that, when I got to that point, it would give me the heebie-jeebies. Like, I just couldn't comprehend it. It was beyond my comprehension.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until I met a beautiful spirit who's on the other side, a physician that's trans-channeled by a wonderful trans-channeler. In fact, one of the best on the planet, in my opinion. And I asked him that question. I said, well, what is it? And he said, there's no such thing as nothing. There's always, always love. That's what it's about.
Mm-hmm. There's always something.
Love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the things that, to your point there, you were talking about how you started off as a registered nurse. You worked in the emergency room, ER, and you had a lot of experience in, especially working with critical, like you said, critical care patients, many of them that would transition. And I remember you had said in the book that at one point, in your awareness, it was like you wanted, you're programmed to save people, of course, that's what we want to see people thrive. But then you came to this realization that part of your healing and your energy that you would become more aware of was also about helping people to transition in a way of honor and in care. And so I want you to speak a little bit about that. And also I want you to share with the audience the when you actually moved more into your alternative healing modalities, where you had your friend up in the Bay Area who called for you to come in and work with her energetically. But because you were interfacing with the doctor, you as an RN, you knew the medication. So you were able to bridge this gap between the allopathic and alternative medicine. And I think that's a unique quality that you have, Barbara, that I really want to get to the listening audience as they think about maybe moving into doing a QHHT session with you, or reading or anything. That one of the things you bring to the table is your understanding of medicine as well as alternative. And I mean, there's a group of people out there that right now, where they are in moving into these other alternative modalities, you bring a certain kind of comfort and care to them. Yeah. So I wanted to bring those up. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Well, your first point was, it was during the second Reiki attunement, I was in meditation, and I came to this realization that life isn't about saving people, it's about helping, being of service to one another, helping others along their journey. And that one of my missions is to teach, and to teach about love, to bring love. Subsequent to that, I have found out that at night when I sleep, I go out of my body, as we all do, and I go to a broadcast station and I teach about love. And it's to a community of beings on another planet that don't know the concept of love. And I thought, how beautiful that they want to know about it, to learn about it. And that's all I know. We don't always know everything what's going on in the other realms, because we're supposed to be focused on this third dimension right here. Now, in response to, you mentioned about my friend out in California, that story is about when I received a phone call, and this dear friend had a double bunionectomy surgery. Now, usually these surgeries are don't have complications, but once in a while things happen. And this was done outpatient. Now, she had some problems inside. We felt it might be a blood clot or a bleeding situation, because her foot was swelling and swelling, and the pain medication wasn't even touching it. So she called me and said, there's a flight a ticket at the airport. I had about an hour to get down there, maybe 90 minutes. So I just packed a bag real quick and went down the airport, and then I'm on a flight to California, and I'm supposed to be doing a workshop, and I had a healing client, and I asked God, what's going on here? You want me to do your work, you want me to do this, be of service, but instead I had to stop all that, and now I have to go out to California. And even though I don't understand it, you know the bigger picture, so I'm going to rely on that and have faith that there's a purpose for this. And I think the lesson in that is we don't always know why something is occurring, so just go with it and trust that you'll get the answer down the road. I went out there, and her husband picked me up at the airport, took me directly to the hospital. They were just putting a morphine or infusion to help her with the pain. And I started doing the healing work. And my mother had given me a little bottle of water from Lourdes, grotto in France. So I brought that with me, and I used that to anoint her on her head and her heart. And why would I do that? Because these waters hold a very high vibration, and people are learning more and more about water throughout the whole planet, and how much we are part of water, and that we need water and needs to be clean. It needs to have a high vibration, because then it aligns our body to be healthy. And so the next day, I met the surgeon who had done the original surgery, and we both agreed that it probably was a bleeder inside. And okay, so how am I combining the allopathic Western medicine with the esoteric, the energy? And also, it's about honoring one another. Well, I was just guided to ask him, may I give you and the assistant, the resident, a blessing? And he just said yes. So I held his hand and did a blessing. I've never done that before, ever, in all my years working in critical care. And so while they were in surgery, I went into meditation, and I have the ability to do remote viewing, and I could see everything was going just fine. And I sat in the room waiting, and the doctors came out of surgery. And the doctor sat down and said to me, I just want to let you know that I went inside, and when I opened up her foot, there was no blood. And I've never seen this before. That's what doctors usually tell me after I am engaged in a healing for whoever it is that's going to have surgery or procedure. They always come out saying the same thing. I've never seen this before. And I said, well, what did you see? He saw just a little collection of like gelatin, clear gelatin, and he scooped it out, closed her up. She was fine. She was in the recovery room already scheduling the surgery for her other foot, which she subsequently did have and did just fine. Well, sitting in the room, he says to me, well, who are you? And I told him, and I said that I feel that my role here is to help her be positive no matter what happens. Sometimes complications occur from surgeries. We don't know why. They just do, but why? There probably is a lesson in there. Maybe there's an experience for people to have. And sometimes it can actually be a mystical experience.
Right,
so,
exactly.
Yeah, and so she's very well. She was in the hospital for 5 days, and then I stayed with her for a couple of weeks, doing actually Reiki sessions every day. And it's helped her to wean off of the medications, the pain medications. She did very well.
Right. And that's really, I mean, I really wanted you to share that because, so oftentimes, people will, when we kind of move into different, various modalities, techniques, various sciences, we live in a world, the third dimension is so much about duality, right or wrong, black or right, up or down, and, but when you really deal with, as you say, the esoteric sciences and these various modalities, it really is not about duality. And everything works in unison. They come together and they meld and they're like water. They just mix and match and go and do, and whatever is needed of it happens. So oftentimes people see, when you say alternative medicine, Reiki, as my viewers know, I'm a Reiki Master of 30 plus years, as well as other healing techniques and what have you. And for years, and you and I talked about this before the show, for years, people always see they've got to make a choice. It's got to be this or that. Either I've got to go to a medical doctor or a nurse, or I've got to go to an acupuncturist or a chiropractor or whatever. But no, I mean, and I think your story is a perfect example of how they all blend together. It's all knowledge, it's all information, and you pull from what it is that you need when you need it. And as you said, if you rely on source, God, universal love, whatever you call source, and our viewers, whoever you and whatever you call source, it's all the same thing. That is what's doing the work, that energy. And as you said earlier, it goes back to love. And most religions agree that God is love, that it comes from that place. So then how did you move into Dolores Cannon's technique, the QHHT, which is where I met you through and ultimately had a session with you?
Okay. Well, along that time, I was exploring and trying to find out, what am I doing? Because I'm having these experiences where people will just walk up to me and say, thank you. And I ask them, for what? And I found out that I have this ability, it's a gift, that I'm channeling energies that are able to take a person in a past life, they're healed, and they come back. And it's all done unconsciously. I don't even know that this is occurring. However, when I began offering this service to help people, whatever the problem is, they don't even need to tell me what their problem is. And I go into an altered state of consciousness, and they, which I call the group of beings that are with me, which is also called the higher self, they're the ones that talk to me and tell me what to do, where to put my hands. I work these star codes in a person's star fields, and they just take over my body and they do the work. Now, also in 2002, I had a shamanic opening ceremony. I was with a shaman. It was on a mountaintop in the Phoenix area. We spent a whole day there, and we opened my gift, and that gift came through that evening, and I began hearing and speaking a mathematical star language. Subsequent to that, I found out through a lucid dream, I was up, apparently I am a commander of a research and teaching ship. It's very large, and I was speaking with another being, I should say, and I asked him, because he was male orientation, what is this language? And I was told it's a mathematical language. That was it. That's all I was told. The more I don't know about it, the more powerful it is. And that's fine with me. If it works, that's fine. Now, you asked, how did I get into the quantum healing hypnosis technique? Well, back in 2013, I decided to meet the Arcturians. Are you familiar with these beings from
Oh yeah,
Arcturus?
I am. I channel. I do a lot of writing through my automatic writing with one of them.
Very good.
Regular. Yeah.
Well,
and I'm sure that my viewers know the Arcturians too, for the most part. Yeah.
Okay. I became interested in reading about them. So I bought a couple of books. I started reading, and I had read that in order to contact them, one of the easiest ways is through the fifth dimension, and you have to do that for sleep. Okay. So I decided to go to a remote area in northern Arizona, went camping deep in the woods, an area where extraterrestrial craft come all the time. Mm-hmm. And I went to sleep that night and woke up the next morning, didn't remember anything. I thought, oh, well, I wonder if I met them. I have no idea. So I had my breakfast out in the woods. It was just beautiful. I just love being that close to Mother Earth, laying on the ground. So I came back to the ranch where I live here, and I went into meditation. I do a yoga meditation. And then my third eye opened up and I saw the whole scene, the ship coming down. I walked out of my tent, met the Arcturians. I'm on board. There were actually, I could see this long metal probe going into my left outer thigh. Mm-hmm. And I asked, oh, so what's this for? And they said, oh, we're just upgrading your light codes. I thought, okay, thank you very much. And then I remember leaving. I could see myself saying goodbye to the Arcturians, and I saw myself walking back into my tent. Now that's very interesting because in the morning, I had a raised red area on my left outer thigh, exactly where that probe was put. And I took photos of it. Yeah. And it doesn't itch. It doesn't. There's no pain. It's just from time to time I get implants, and that's just some residual effect or evidence that has occurred. These are good implants. These are things to help us maintain our bodies here in this third dimension with what we're existing in here. So I talked with a friend who had a session with Dolores Cannon, and she found out through Dolores that her whole life she's been having experiences where she goes up to spacecrafts, and she's had a lot of missing time episodes. Mm-hmm. So she said, you know, Barb, you should have a QHHT session. So go on the directory and look for a practitioner near you. So I did, and I contacted her, and I didn't look at anything about Dolores. I didn't go to the website. I didn't look up any books or videos. I just knew that this was something that would be appropriate for me. It's the inner knowing, okay? Mm-hmm. And I contacted this practitioner, and we agreed, and she came over to my place, and we did the session. And it was in that session that she said I turned into a waveform right in front of her. Mm-hmm. And my thyroid was healed. I had hypothyroidism. And so that's done. And I also got to find out I was in other experiences, past life experiences. I also got to see the parallel lives that I'm engaged in. Okay. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That was it. So that had that session, and she contacted me a second time and said, I've never met a higher self like yours. I would love to do another session with you to meet them again. Would you agree to that? I did. So we got to explore a little more, and that was 2013. Now, about a year later, this practitioner had her own QHHT session, and she had asked that she would like to find out someone to go into business with, be a partner with in QHHT.
Mm-hmm.
And her higher self said, Barbara Becker, that's the person. So she called me and said, this really seems to be in alignment with what you already do as far as, you know, past life work.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, would you consider learning this? And I said, well, let me do my own session. So I did my own session by myself. And I was taken off the planet and put down into Pompeii, Italy, where I saw her and I were both men, and we were the ones installing the lead pipes in Pompeii and Herculaneum, also known as Ercolano, Italy.
Right.
And I saw that we were very successful businessmen. So we've had this life together before. And I approached my higher self and I said, so is QHHT in alignment with my soul path? Because that's what you want to make sure of.
Right. That makes sense.
And I said, yes, very much so. I said, okay. I counted myself up and out, contacted her, and I said, okay, I'll do this. So I took the course and began doing sessions.
Right.
And
so can you explain to the audience,
to
my listeners, exactly what, you know, a capsule definition of what the QHHT is for those who don't know the work of Dolores Cannon and this technique that she spent her life actually developing and teaching?
Okay, you're breaking up, so I'm going to repeat. Are you asking me about what is quantum healing hypnosis technique?
Yes, exactly what that technique is. Yep.
Okay. Well, Dolores Cannon was a hypnotherapist with her husband many years ago, back in the 60s and 70s. She and her husband discovered that there is an aspect of us that can be accessed through the deep levels of hypnosis. Mm-hmm. And along the years, she engaged in learning all the different types of hypnosis techniques. So she learned what worked, what didn't, what felt good, what didn't. And she eventually developed this script, this technique called quantum healing hypnosis, where the client is able to be very gently taken down into a deep level of hypnosis where healing can occur, where information can be accessed, mm-hmm. where the person can receive information from other lives, whether it's a parallel life, future life, past life, information that the higher self is giving the client, and as it pertains to what is occurring now in their life. Because why do we have a QHHT session? Sometimes it's because there's information we're looking for, and we need some healing. I have clients who come with a plethora of medical ailments mm-hmm. that they've had for years. And sometimes the medicines are causing side effects, so now they have more ailments. And what we're finding, and what Dolores found, was that when you look into and find the root cause of the original problem, instantaneous healing can occur.
Exactly.
And so she developed that technique. And then she, in the last 10, 11 years of her life, she began teaching it, and she taught it all over the world.
Yeah, and Dolores recently passed, what, 2 years ago now? Or going on 2 years, has it been? Did you hear me?
Oh boy, can't.
Yeah, I noticed it's breaking up a little bit on your side as well, but it'll be okay. I said Dolores passed a couple of years back now, hasn't she? For those in our audience that don't know. Yeah?
Yes, in 2014.
Right. Okay. So let's go to talk about, I know that when I want to share a little bit with the audience. When I came to you for the technique done, because I've followed Dolores for several years, just being in a healer and being in energy empath myself and all that goes with that. You know, you sort of always sort of keep up with what's going on, or you run into people. It was crazy how I actually ran into her information, her technique. However, I had never thought about hypnosis. And so over the years, probably about 4 years or so, that I sort of watched her videos and followed her information and that sort of thing. I never thought about having a session. But a few months ago, speaking to something you said off air about how Dolores is just really showing up a lot in practitioner sessions. She's really assisting you guys along the way. And you were also saying how she also shows up to individuals and say, hey, you know, in Dolores Cannon style, you might want to try one of my techniques. I could see her doing that, because I know one evening I was doing some other reading, and I'm a lucid dreamer, and I've lucid dreamed since I was a kid. And so I can really become pretty cognizant when I do sleep, you know, if I'm taking a nap or I'm laying down, or I fall asleep when I'm reading something. And as I was coming out of a dream that I was pretty active in, I heard on my right side what sounded like Dolores's voice saying, hey, why don't you try one of those QHHT sessions? Because I was really doing a lot of meditating about the work that lies ahead for me, a lot of what my higher self has been. I do a lot of automatic writing, a lot of auto writing. That's where I get a lot of just information that comes through for me. And that's also where I communicate with one of the Arcturians that is actually a brother. He's my brother on one of the command ships. And when that information first came to me, I'm like, okay, yeah, right, Robbie, you know, too much lucid dreaming or something. But, you know, it's funny, over time, it started bearing itself out as I talked to other experiencers. I've had Barry Littleton on my show a couple of times. He's an incredible experiencer. And it seems like his part of him coming forward and talking about his experiences is about helping to bridge the gap and normalize experiences. Like, I never thought that I really was having a lot of on-ship contact. That was just not in my playbook, you know? And until I started talking to him, and he started saying, well, you know, you told me this, you told me that, Robin, and that sounds like a screen memory to me. And he opened that up for me. So I was really searching. Dolores says, hey, try it. So I go to my trusty Google and start Googling, you know, QHHT practitioners. I'm in Arizona like you are. And came upon a number of people, and I go with energy as well. And I kept on coming back to you. And finally I said, well, I felt you were right. I gave you a call. We talked. You spent a generous amount of time with me, really talking about the session initially and what to expect. So I wanted to share it with the viewers that I did have the session with you. I found it incredible. It's amazing the amount that you remember, that you really think it's your memory and activation. Like, it almost feels like you're talking, like, well, you are talking, but it feels like you're talking, like consciously directing the conversation. And what I did discover is that when I did go back and listen to the CDs, because Barbara, she records the whole session, and afterwards she gives you copies of these recordings and encourages you to listen to them over and over and over again, because the healing continues. What was incredible to me was, because we met at a hotel, because you like people to stay in a very quiet environment for the rest of the day and into the evening the next day. So that's where we met. And there was a lot of noise, vacuuming, and people talking all in the hallways and everything like that. And though I was conscious of some of what I was saying, it was clear that I heard none of that stuff until I listened to the recordings. And that really, I mean, I sat there for a minute, my eyes like bugged, like thinking, wow, this really is real. You know, I'm one of those kind of people like you. I got to ask a lot of questions. But so I wanted to share that. And I felt that I got a lot of healing out of that session. And I feel that my healing is still happening. And I got a tremendous amount of clarity, lots of clarity in terms of where I needed to move forward. So I wanted to thank you for that. And I wanted to share that with the listeners so that, you know, they can have a sort of a reference point for some of that. So I wanted you to comment on that. Then I wanted to also talk about having read your book and the experiences that came from that as well.
Okay. What is so beautiful about the quantum healing hypnosis technique is this is a gift that the client gives to themselves for the rest of their life. Because when you leave your session, it's not just that one session. You have a recording that has in it information, and healing occurs through it too. Does that happen? Well, it comes through the ethers. And when you listen to your recording, you're actually changing your brain inside, and different pathways or channels are being formed to where it's in alignment with health, with expanded consciousness, with more awareness. And so it is possible when you listen to your recording over and over again, you can be receiving new information, new downloads, deeper insight into what you are working on, because we're doing our inner work here, and we're bringing ourselves back to our hearts, the love, and we have to work on our issues and get that sorted out.
Right.
This is it. We're not coming back to this third dimension. We're all ascending. That's the good news. And this modality, it has also in it a beautiful, relaxing meditation in there by Dolores. And this is a meditation that you can come back to whenever you need to do a complete healing through your body and be at peace and centered and calm and continue on with your life. That's the beauty of this. And it's really beautiful when you hear your higher self give you information, give you guidance, because that's the part of you that you're connected to, and it knows the bigger picture. It knows your agreements, your missions, your contracts. It knows everybody you're going to meet on the planet in your entire life. You have no secrets from your higher self. And that higher self loves you very much and wants the best for you always.
Right.
For a practitioner, it's a deep honor and privilege to meet the higher self of someone and to engage in a conversation and to ask all the questions that the client has.
And what's incredible too about that whole process is that as I listen back to my recordings, it's amazing how it's somewhat your voice intonations, but even when you listen to it, you really know that it is definitely a different or an expanded energy speaking through you. You can tell the difference in the modulations, and even when you invite other soul selves, as in the case, you can actually speak to other parts of your soul group. Those even have different intonations. It's really amazing. I know when I was in the process of it, I could hear myself, and it sounded pretty much like myself, although I do have memory of feeling a bit disconnected from the voice that was speaking, especially it seems when others were speaking. I felt when it was my soul, when my higher self speaking, I felt more connected. But when other entities that were speaking, that were given permission to come through, like my grandmother, for instance, I could sense that I was back from that voice. Even when I listen to it now. So I wanted to make that point. That was pretty interesting. Did you want to say something else around that?
Well, you speak about the entity known as your grandmother. Clients have had spouses who have crossed over, pets. And I asked the higher self, is grandma available? And most of the time, yes. And so, well, is it possible for her to come through now? And this is a beautiful part of the QHHT session, is where the client can have a private, personal conversation with their grandma that they miss so much, or their spouse or their child has crossed over. And it brings such peace. And on that note, when a person listens to their recording again and again, it is possible to receive new messages from grandma, or more guidance or information that other soul has for them. I love it when pets come in. I can feel the dog, the joy of that soul when they're eating together. And I've even been known to even have tears. There was so much love in the room that tears come down for me, and it's beautiful. It's like it's heaven to be in that space.
Right. I can imagine. I mean, I just think I just want to, if anyone is on the fence about trying the QHHT, you've already heard of it, or if you haven't and you'd like a past life regression, or you want more clarity or healing, whatever, definitely look into this QHHT technique. Definitely, of course, check out Barbara. If you're so inclined energetically, you feel fit, you feel comfortable. Definitely. And I'll also have Barbara's information at the bottom of this video. We'll have links to your website and what have you. But at the same time, I just, I really want to encourage people to continue down this road of really just self-discovery. And when I was reading your book, Enclosure, and it was amazing at how many parallels. In fact, when you gifted me the book, you said, Robin, you need to read this, because there were so many parallels. And what I was saying to you, I was like, oh, this happened to me and this happened. You say, yeah, I know. And I'd say, this happened. And when I was reading it, I was like, well, darn, if this isn't, it's right here in black and white. And, but what was happening to me, and I shared this with you because I called you at, I think I was halfway through reading the book, and I called you because I was reading, and then I would fall asleep in the most awkward, like I'm outside on my back deck, reading in a sitting up in a lawn chair, sort of sitting straight and reading. And then before I know it, I'm head slumped, I'm knocked out, I'm in the most uncomfortable position. And yet I woke up and I've been asleep for like an hour. And I'm thinking, what in the world? And I knew that it was a healing going on. You can sense it when you fall asleep like that in a crazy uncomfortable position, and it's sun streaming down on you. You're outside. The bugs aren't bothering you. None of the outside noise is bothering you. You're definitely receiving a healing. And I did it. So later I picked up the book and read, and it happened again. I remember calling you and saying, Barbara, I'm like getting healing off of this book, and it continued all the way through till I was finished with it. And I called you again, and we had a long chat about it. And in this book you wrote even prior to your training with QHHT, I believe. Is that not correct? You still there, Barbara? Oh, I hope I haven't lost Barbara. Barbara, are you there? Okay. It dropped. It's okay. It does that.
I'm back. Okay.
Okay, good. Okay, wonderful. That happens sometimes. So I was just finishing up doing that. I saw your picture was frozen there for a while, and I thought, oh, I think she's gone. And then and when I went to say Barbara, but anyway, I was sharing. You probably heard the bit of it where I was sharing about a lot of the healing I was constantly getting as I was reading this book, and I want to say I probably had about 4 or 5 times where I fell asleep for at least a half an hour to an hour while I was reading this book. And it took me a few days, and I knew, generally I could sit down and read the book through. I'm an avid reader. I love reading. I read pretty fast. But I knew that it took a space of about 4 to 5 days because I had to stop and keep on integrating the healing sessions. And I was very much aware of that. So I wanted you to speak to that.
Okay, so we can receive healing energies many ways. We can receive it through the sound of the human voice, through music, through tones. Receive healing energies with the human touch, or even the hands near a person's body. We can also receive healing energies through the ethers, we call it. In other words, the transmission goes beyond the space and time. This is quantum healing. And so it is possible that we can receive healing just by reading an email message, reading a book, listening to a CD, audio. We can even receive healing watching a DVD, video. All this is possible. And to help people to understand this, when I formed barbarbeckerhealing, my angels recommended that I encode a healing transmission in the business name. So when my clients cannot contact me for some reason, either I'm not available or for some reason internet goes down, and I tell them, if you're not feeling well, to just say my business name 3 times. And people have shared with me their migraine headaches go away, their nausea goes away, their anxiety. There was a woman over in London, and I was chatting with her through Facebook, and she wasn't feeling in a good place, and negative energies around her. I told her in the message to say barbarbeckerhealing 3 times and then wait. And so she did that, and she wrote back to me that she saw a light come out of the sky. It was a beam, and it struck her in the chest. It did not hurt. It just struck her in the chest, and then nothing. And I wrote back to her, and I said, "Oh, it's not nothing." And then she wrote back, "Oh my goodness, the divine goddess energy is flowing down through my whole body." And she felt at peace.
Right.
So this is just an example of what can happen. I can't tell you for sure what it will happen. All I know is I encoded that. And so what we do is when we write our blog articles, we write our books, we write email messages, we can set the intention for that. And we can put into those words, those pages, and even on Kindles also, that healing that person, whoever's reading it. and that they receive blessings and love. That's what I send to people. Because I want the best for everybody.
Right. I mean, that's just awesome. And I know that being a healer myself and what have you, I mean, I could just, you know, I knew that it was on there, and I don't take those things lightly. I'm also not the easiest person to influence by all the bells and whistles that some people play, because, you know, I believe we're all at different places on the path, no right or no wrong, but it's, you know, I can sort of sense what works for me. And so I really try to pay attention to that. And I suggest that others do the same. You were talking earlier about having received an implant in one of your encounters with the Arcturians. And I wanted to say to people as well, you know, the latest little buzzword is implants, and everybody is removing implants. And you know, to the tune of quite a bit of money, as far as I'm concerned, for something that's happening, you know, in a space of a few minutes or whatever. I don't want to talk down about implants, because I believe that there are people out there and their work is serving a purpose. I want to be very clear about that. I'm a very open person. I believe in a lot of things, but also it's not a dirty word, implant. Some implants are there and they're good for us. They're there for our betterment. They are a part of the fifth dimensional relationships that we're having oftentimes during sleep or during encounters that we end up getting screen memories, etc. So I wanted to say that implants are not a dirty word. It's like in the church, you know, people say, oh, you know, money is the root of all evil. No, the scripture is that the love of money is the root of all evil. So, you know, it's not like money is a bad word. It's neutral. It's what you do with it that makes it good or bad. And that's, to me, a similar thing with a lot of the various modalities and techniques. So I wanted to say that because I thought that was a really great example that you were making when you were telling your story about a positive implant. I also happen to believe that implants are things that we're able to remove ourselves with more expanded awareness. And I just know that from working with people over the years. Energetically, I've removed what people are calling implants out of people's etheric bodies. But to me, they were more conscious. They're like orbs of consciousness that were created by that individual through their various life experiences, the way they were thinking. And some of those orbs of consciousness were not healthy, and they were making their ways into the tissue. And that's what I always called them, not so much implants. But anyway, it looks like you want to say something there. Jump in.
Well, yes. I think regarding implants, it's case by case. You have to figure things out for yourself and to know what is the best for you. And so if someone is doing something that is not in alignment with you, then that's their journey. It's not yours.
Right.
In 2012, this is not in my book. I'm probably going to put it in I'm writing the sequel to this book, because this book only goes to 2012. And in 2012, I was guided to have an etheric crystal. And so I contacted an etheric surgeon, and who actually works with a physician who incarnates as a Labrador retriever, a dog.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Oh, yeah. And they're over in Florida. I'm in Arizona. This was a really fun experience, because this is all done in the ethers. And it was really cool. The night before my session, which is basically laying down on your bed, and you actually go to sleep for an hour and a half to 2 hours. The doctor dog came into my dream. It was a lucid dream. And I'm going, oh my goodness. I said, you're here early. It's not till tomorrow. And then he did his work, and then I could see him run off. And so I told the etheric surgeon the next day, and I said, "Did you know that your dog showed up?" And he says, "Yes, he doesn't like to wait. He wants to get to work right away." So I thought that was very, very sweet.
It is.
So yeah, I mean, there you go. That's just an example that, and I understand. From my understanding is, and again, my understanding is quite limited on this subject because I didn't do a whole lot of research. But what crystals are placed in our fields so we don't expand or evolve too fast for our own benefit, because you want to open up gracefully, gently, and lovingly. When you go too fast in some things, it's not one of the happiest and most pleasant experiences, as people have shared. But then again, that's something that they wanted to experience. It's nothing good or bad. It's just, well, thank goodness. Now we know some contrast here. So, and going back to one of the lessons that we're here to learn on planet Earth is patience. Can we be patient?
Right, exactly.
With ourselves and with our growth. For example, I used to think years ago, everybody is evolving much faster than I am. I'm so far behind everybody else. So what's wrong? All that stuff. And it's about opening up gently and gracefully. And I was told that very, very powerful souls have to open up very gently because it's just too much energy, too much expansion at one time. So just rest in that and know that everything is evolving, is occurring in the right moment, the right time, and be at peace with that. And if you can be at peace with that, then you are so far ahead of the game than if you're trying to sit there trying to control something you have no control over.
Exactly. That's so true. And I know when you were talking about the crystal implants, one of my I sort of see my lives when you look back at the entities that you relate to or that's here helping you through your higher self group. One of them is a silicon being that and one of the things that, and I've worked for years with jewelry with stones. I never understood. I mean, I like them. I like jewelry. It's pretty. But for a good period of time, I was really creating a lot of one-of-a-kind pieces of jewelry that, I mean, I handpicked the stones. I mean, I always had to handpick the stones, get just the ones I wanted, and sometimes I wouldn't even use all the ones that were on the strand. But, and it later came to my understanding that in one of my lives, I was a silicon being, a topaz empress, and from that world, where it's the frequency for all the stones that are in the universe, that it's related back to that frequency of that planet, but that to your point about crystal implants, they're almost like a time release capsule, thinking of in medical terms, that they will release in accordance to the evolution as your consciousness and your DNA continues to go to that next point of understanding, then more information is released in that process. And there are ways to negate that, but generally they're created in a way that allow for more gentle opening up. And this has come to me later in, let's say over the last 10 years, but previous when I was making the jewelry, I just thought I was making jewelry really, until a lot of my clients came back and said, and at the time I was living in DC, And a lot of my female clients were attorneys. They were accountant. They worked on Capitol Hill. They were in Congress, think tanks, lobbyists. And one of my, I never forget her. She's a beautiful woman. And she was a very small, petite, quiet woman. And I knew that she worked a lot on Capitol Hill. Didn't know exactly what she did. And, but she used to buy more quiet, smaller pieces of jewelry, you know. And this one time she bought what I called my Isis necklace. And it was a lot of pearls and stuff, but you know, like you could imagine what an Isis necklace would look like. It wasn't really huge, but it was more detailed than what she normally purchased. And she was just drawn to it. She said, Robin, I don't know. So after about 8 or 9 months, she came to me at one point and she said, when she was making another purchase, she said, you know that necklace, the Isis necklace? I said, yeah. She said, I wear that thing every time I go and speak before Congress. She says, I don't know what it is. It just gives me courage. I just feel powerful. And generally, I don't feel comfortable in speaking. And I found out that she was one of the top administrators in Homeland Security when that whole thing was first put together. And she was terrified to go and speak on this stuff. And I started to have more people would come back to me and say, it does this, it does that. And I realized at one point that, wow, that this energy, the healing that years earlier with Reiki and all the other stuff I was doing was actually in my life as a silicon being was translating through this jewelry, and it was healing, it was serving purposes. So, you know, you, like to your point, you never know how this energy is working and what's going on. And you may be, and I say this to our listeners, because you may be doing something right now that you really don't value. It seems insignificant. Somebody might be saying, why are you making those little dolls, stuffed animals with cotton and selling at the flea market? Why are you doing that? You know, why don't you go get yourself a real job? But you love it. You're attached to it. The people who buy your dolls, they come back and say how much comfort or joy or happiness. You are doing a work. And I know, Barbara, you would confirm this, that you're doing a work. And if anything that brings you passion, that you enjoy doing, it may seem like it's so random, but know that your higher self and all the beings that love you are doing exactly through you, exactly what needs to be done. Would you not agree with that, Barbara?
I agree with that. Yes, there's a whole lot more going on than we're aware of.
Absolutely. And so, you know,
yeah.
Because you were saying earlier that people need to trust in themselves, trust in the modalities, trust where you go. And it's not just about, I mean, I am an energy empath, but I sought Barbara out because she could do things for me that I needed done. So don't think that because you do something, you can't seek someone else out, or because you're doing a particular kind of work that maybe other people don't understand, that it's not serving your higher purpose. And that's always my message to people, that it's all about integrating mind, body, and spirit. That's what we're doing right now. That's what's happening that gets us into the 5th dimension, and to value and what you are doing. And what Barbara and I are talking about today are just examples of what we're doing, examples of what Barbara is doing. And as an incredible healer, that if you just buy this book, now the book they can get on Amazon, where else, Barbara?
Amazon.com, Kindle.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and CreateSpace.com. And right now it is in production to be into an audio form on Audible.com. And I'm looking for that coming out in the summer. And it is possible just to go to my website, barbarbeckerhealing.com. And if you go to the About Barbara page, you just scroll down and there's links to all those places I just mentioned.
And I'll make sure that I put that up on with this broadcast, because I really want to encourage people, if you don't do anything else, get the book and start reading it. It's a lot of experiences in there I'm sure you'll be able to relate to. There's also, as I said, just this incredible healing that whatever your issues, whatever you're thinking about, whatever has you sitting here listening to this broadcast, I guarantee you there's absolutely no accidents. You're here listening to this for a reason. Trust in that. And one of the easiest ways and probably the quickest ways to reach out to Barbara is to purchase her book. And if you're so inclined to want to move forward and your spirit is telling you, or Dolores is whispering to your ear right now and saying, hey, you need to get that QHHT, trust that. Reach out to Barbara. She will gently guide you through it. She spends an incredible amount of time. I mean, there is tremendous value in this technique, Barbara. Just even monetarily, for the amount of money that is charged for this modality, you are extremely generous in the time that goes into this. I mean, I would say without any hesitation, you put at least 10 hours into this, from the pre-interview to the time we spend together to the post-interview. I want people to understand this is not just an hour in and out type of experience. Barbara spends a tremendous amount of time with you. You get to ask, she asks you to write up all the questions you can think of and type them up. So when you meet with her and she puts you into hypnosis, she's actually asking the questions that you have asked. She's not asking her questions. She's asking the questions that you wanted asked. She may ask clarifying questions because as an experienced practitioner, she knows how to guide you and the higher selves and connect with them and get you the results that source wants you to have. But know that you are asking those, the questions you wanted asked. And so therefore, I mean, you put a lot of time into this, and I really wanted to just, translate that to people, because so often you're coming across techniques. And here again, this is not being negative, but I want to say sometimes people are charging $200 something for 15 minutes. Not saying that doesn't have value, not saying that. But sometimes people want to engage with techniques that are taking more time with them because they need that time. And I want them to understand that this is that type of technique.
Yes. And one thing to share regarding the hypnosis part. Some people may say, oh, I don't know if I can do hypnosis, and I'm a little bit scared or any doubt or fears. Okay, I'm getting some feedback here.
Yeah, it's doing a little bit of everything, the internet, but you're good.
Okay, well, let's try this. What's the beautiful part of the aspect of quantum healing hypnosis techniques is the client is in control. The higher self is in charge. And I am the facilitator. I make sure that things are moving along. I'm watching the clock. I'm making sure that the client is comfortable and feels safe. And the higher self never makes you do anything you don't want to do, never shows you anything you're not ready for. And I don't make you do anything you don't want to do. It's the beautiful, beautiful modality. I was taking the class, and as Dolores was teaching, I came to a realization that this is sacred service. It's sacred work. And I was receiving downloads and healing just attending the class. Very, very powerful work. And we're so grateful for what she has established. And it is a legacy, because many people are finding her through the videos, through her books, and then they're receiving that inkling, that knowing inside of them that maybe it's time I have one of these, that I find out my answers and I get a chance to do my healing, because that's what quantum healing hypnosis technique is about. This is you, the client, healing you.
That's
And
awesome.
it's very, very, very empowering. Yeah.
I could definitely say that. I definitely felt very empowered after the session, more so than before going in. I definitely, and I think when I talked to you the next day, I said that to you. I said, wow, I mean, you just really feel so connected to your higher self, to your knowing self, to it's almost like getting reacquainted with a lost friend is how it felt to me. And I remembered that after our session and you were debriefing me, and you had said that Dolores had come through twice, one with advice for me, and then one with the gift of information to you. And I, at that point, I hadn't listened to my CDs once I left the next day and was heading home. But as I was driving down the road, I just was filled up with such a connectedness to self. And then I could hear what I felt was Dolores just talking in this ear, just saying, you know, basically what she was telling me was to get a hold of Julia, talk to Julia. I want you to interview her. And I want her to talk about my early years, because that's the information that I want practitioners to understand now. Those who are building their business, those who are going after even new modalities are coming in that are different from QHHT, but to stay on that path. And she's just talking like this. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, right. I'm going to call Julia and I'm going out the blue. And Dolores said, she'll know, she'll recognize, she'll know the truth. And so I was obedient, because I can delay. I can say, I don't know about that, and take 2 or 3 weeks to do something my higher self tells me to do, or in this case, Dolores. And I did. I told you about this. I immediately went in. That day, as soon as I walked in the door, I hit my computer and I typed up a missive to Julia. And I felt that Dolores was over my right shoulder kind of directing it, because I wasn't writing it in the style that I normally would write. And I sent it off to Julia, and I said, hey, I was told that you would recognize the authenticity in this. Mm-hmm. So I said, and I think I said in there, you're not, I mean, I'm sure you're getting these kind of requests all day, every day. I mean, this is not a new request to get across the computer. So a couple of days went by, because it was going into the weekend, because our session was on a Thursday. So Friday I did this. It was going into the weekend. I didn't hear from her. So I said, yeah, see. So, but Monday I heard, no, send it back again. It got missed among the stuff. And within an hour, Julia responded back. I love it. I think that's great. I could see where my mother's work, her early stuff would be important for people to start understanding, blah, blah, blah. And so we're setting up a time for her to come on Circle Healing Network and to begin to share some of her mother's things. This came from our QHHT session, you know, and the opportunity that afforded for another direction. It's just like, you know, we're all on a circle, and we're just, all these directions are shooting out, and it's just another direction shooting out. So that would not have come to me. I would not have done that on my own or anything. I wouldn't even have made the connection, except for, I know that in listening to the session, that was one of the things when Dolores came through. She came through specifically talking about the healing modality that's been brought up into me, that I've kind of been dragging my feet on. And I think that went back to what she had said in that session as well. At least that's what comes through for me when I listen to it. Yeah. So I wanted to share that because I wanted people, to your point about how Dolores is showing up, how we are, you know, to follow those things that may seem weird or seem like I don't have what makes me capable to do these things. We're living in incredible times, and we all are capable of doing exactly what our soul selves have come here to do and are directed to do. And we all need to have the confidence to know that we do matter, and that what we bring forward through a group of people who will need to hear that. So your thoughts, and then I also wanted you to go ahead and speak about the teleconference that you do, and anything else that you want to share with the audience before we close this interview because I want to make sure that you're getting everything out. This is your time to share your work with the people that will connect with you. So
thank you, Robin.
Yes. Sure.
Every month, I have a Star Energy Healing teleconference. And this began in 2013 when I heard my angels say, okay, it's time to start to do these sessions for the public in person. And I created a meetup.com group. I had different venues around the Phoenix area, and I channeled the healing energies, the mathematical language for groups of people. And then one evening during one of the sessions, right after the mathematical language was transmitted, Archangel Michael came into my body and spoke with everybody. Nobody told me this until as we were leaving out the door. And I was driving back home and I asked my higher self, okay, what's going on here? And they said, well, you're going to start channeling us and we will be speaking in the English language. And I said, okay, do we need to practice this? And they said, no. I said, okay. And I had to sit down and find out, okay, so what's going to happen here? And they said, well, what we're going to have you do is you're going to do this one group session. We're going to be channeling and speaking to everybody and answering questions. And we did that. And then you're also going to announce that we're going to make this available to everybody around the world. So it had to be more global. And that was when they gave me the idea of the teleconference. And so I transitioned to the teleconference, and people can go to my website. They can go, there's actually a tab for the Star Energy Healing teleconference and purchase a ticket. And the Friday evening before the teleconference is when you need to have your ticket purchased. Saturday, I send out the phone number and the passcode, and we all meet on Sunday, which is 1 p.m. Arizona time. And we meet on the teleconference, and I give a brief history. I do an invocation. I help everybody go into an expanded state of awareness through a meditation. I channel the mathematical language, and then my higher self, known as the White One, is a group of beings from the great central sun, including physicians. They come through and give a message and then answer questions. And then I return and we conclude. And at the end, I send a link to the recording to all the participants so they can download it to their computer and listen to the language over and over again. And when they do that, they'll actually go into a deeper and deeper and deeper experience. There are testimonials I have about these sessions, and people have been known to not even be able to speak after receiving the language. And others are able to come forward and ask questions. This is all normal. Now, make it to the teleconference. Sometimes family matters come up, and although they purchased a ticket, no problem. They can always send me by email their question, and I will channel White One, and White One will answer their question. And I'll send it to them by email. I will also send them the recording so they can listen to the other questions by the other participants, because as we have learned, when we are in a group and various people are asking all different types of questions, those questions and answers apply to us, whether it's something that we've experienced in our life before or something that's going to come around the corner for us, or maybe something we're going through right now with ourselves. Lots of people have abundance issues. Lots of people have relationship issues. People want to know, gosh, should I stay in this job or not? Where am I to go next? Things like that. And that can be accessed through my website, barbarbeckerhealing.com. And I also, through my website, as a gift, I give my first chapter of my book to anybody who signs up for my monthly newsletter. My monthly newsletter is published on the day and month. So, for instance, next month will be May 5th. In June, it'll be June 6th, like that. And in my newsletter, I have a channeled angel message. I have my blog article in there. I have spiritual tips. There are announcements in there. There are links. The radio and internet TV programs are on there. And if anybody has a subject or concept they would like me to address and channel information regarding that, that's wonderful. I always ask for people to do that. For people who sign up for my newsletter, as a opportunity for a gift, I have each month the angels tell me what person is to receive a full hour angel tarot card reading. That's $125 value that I
awesome.
give as a gift just for being a subscriber. And the angels, I assign everybody a number, and the angels tell me what number it is. I don't know who these people are until I look their name up corresponding with a number that the angels tell me. Now, going back to the Star Energy Healing Teleconference, the next one will be May 15th. And that's on the website too. Okay.
That's great. We're getting a little feedback. I'm gonna do this. I'm just gonna mute your microphone. I'll mute it for a minute, and then you unmute it. Because what happens is that sometimes the feedback happens, and if we mute our microphones, then it doesn't do it. So it seems like it's fine right now.
Okay, we're okay.
Right. Yeah, we're fine right now. Okay. So I remember you telling me off air that the healing group that you do is a mere $22 to join in once a month on that, the healing session where you do your mathematical language and all that. I mean, that's just a really incredible price to be able to stay tuned in, to get questions answered, to have Barbara for that time period. I think that's an incredible offer, and I plan on joining in on the next one myself. And additionally, I know we talked also that for those who have come to Circle Healing Network, who are listening to this broadcast and make it diligently through to the end, Barbara has a gift for you. Those of you who've stayed here to listen, it's an incredible gift. So Barbara, I'll let you share with our listeners what they get to receive from today's broadcast.
Yes. Well, in addition to my quantum healing hypnosis technique sessions, I'm an angel communicator, and so I offer angel tarot card readings, both 60-minute and 30-minute readings. I also offer channeled healing sessions, and I have clients all over the world, and we either meet on the phone or we do through a transmission of the internet. And so for a gift for connecting with this program, I am offering a 3-card angel tarot card reading, and the messages come right down, downloaded into me for you. And if you make it all the way through this wonderful program, mention where you heard this. You can send me an email, barbarbeckerhealing@gmail.com, and we will set up your free 3-card angel tarot card reading. And
So you have
they're always inspirational. All my angel readings are inspirational and informative.
I love it. I love angel readings. There's such a quick way to access the higher self and to get that information. So you have to mention Circle Healing Network. It will not be in the notes because it's not for the general folks who just come trip upon, listen to something for 10 or 15 minutes and happen to see it in the notes. So you have to remember, when you connect with Barbara, you heard the offer. It's free. It's totally free. She'll do the 3-card reading, mention Circle Healing Network, and connect through her at through Barbara Becker Healing, is it at Gmail?
Yes. Yeah, barbarbeckerhealing at gmail.com.
And that's how you can connect with her. And I think that's an awesome offer of your time and of your healing, and but you're very generous and all that, and that's what I enjoyed about our session. So I guess we'll wrap it up now. If there's anything else that you'd like to say before closing, please jump right in. If you want to identify any of what you're doing again, please do, Barbara, or their last words.
All right. Well, I want to say thank you for this opportunity to share the information and the blessings and love that I'm sending this and listens to this beautiful program. So thank you, Robin.
Thank you, Barbara. So again, thank you guys. You could have been doing anything with your time. I'm glad that you hung in here with us. And those of you who did get a nice gift. It's like when we were in grade school, we used to always get that star for going the extra mile. So this is Barbara's star. You guys we're hanging in here and learning something more about various healing modalities, and hopefully you were able to edify yourselves and get some questions answered. So Barbara, lots of love to you. I enjoy knowing you, and you being a practitioner in my life at a time that I'm growing and need that kind of guidance and love. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming on the Circle Healing Network. And there again, guys, you can reach out to us in the chat, in the messages, any questions that you have. If you have any questions for Barbara or future topics, please reach out and let us know. And we can do another show moving forward, maybe in which we will actually have a chat group going in which you can ask questions directly online. And maybe we'll set something like that up as well, because that's a good way to connect with Barbara and find out more about where we all are on the planet right now. So again, thank you so much. Signing off. Lots of love and joy from Circle Healing Network. Thanks again to all my viewers. Much love to you. Bye-bye.